Hey there, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be where you are.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
Greetings to you. My name is...
Jeff.
No, my name is Jeff Fritz. Welcome back to the live stream. Today is December 18th, 2019. We might write a little bit of code today. Let's see where we go here. I want to spend a little bit of time today talking about software versioning. Software version numbers, maintaining those version numbers, and I want to specifically dig into a little bit of the struggle that we had yesterday, and in discussing things on Twitter, what feels more and more, and I'm going to use some words here that are going to hurt some folks' feelings here, but I think we need to come to Jesus moment. We need to start dealing with this Stockholm syndrome around versioning in the .NET ecosystem. Cloudy NJ, thank you so much. I appreciate that subscription. Joining us with your Twitch Prime account. Friends, if you've got Amazon Prime, and you probably do because you're shipping things for free this holiday season, link that to your Twitch account. You get one subscription you can use anywhere here on Twitch. If you use it here, I'll make a donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. All of our subscriptions, all of our cheers, all quarter long are being donated to St. Jude. In fact, if you scroll down just below the video, you can see the Tiltify fundraiser tracker for my donations for St. Jude this quarter, and you can see we've donated more than $1,900 just from this channel this quarter. We're going to make another donation in the middle of January when we finish out December here. But take a look. If you're moved, if you want to donate something a little bit extra, go ahead and click those links there, and you can donate to St. Jude, and a little alert will appear here to show that you've made a donation. Thank you so much, everybody, for your subscriptions, your cheers, all quarter long, and what we can do to help the kids at St. Jude battle some really nasty diseases out there. Let me say hello to everybody here in the chat room. Tagaron, good afternoon. Mason Talks Code, good morning. Hey, Smab, good to see you. Welsh Ronaldo is here. Good morning. Actually, good afternoon to some of you, including GL Conti in Switzerland. Hello, hello. Cloudy NJ, I mentioned hello to you. DD Walsh is here. More donuts in Bellevue. I get a feeling donuts in Bellevue is really a thing here. I'm going with my pizza in Pizza Planet here, all right? Because this isn't a toy story today. I want to really talk through all of the concepts that are going on here and see what we can do to simplify things. Tell us how I really feel. Hey, Coding Bandit.
Bald Bearded Builder gifted DD Walsh a subscription. Bald Bearded Builder gifted a tier 1 sub to DD Walsh. They have given 209 gift subs in the channel.
209! Thank you so much for that to our friend the Bald Bearded Builder. That's Michael Jolly. Thank you so much for gifting a sub over to DD. That's really cool. Thank you so much. And we'll make another donation. Used by me. Let's see. Oh my gosh. And the emotes are being shared left and right here. New subscriptions. And cheers over 300 bits and emotes for the Haha Holidays promotion are being shared here on Twitch. Smab says, I built, let me highlight this one right here. Built a simple repo and pipeline for a .NET Standard NuGet package here. Terrific. I'm going to grab that so that we can take a look at what you've built so we can talk a little bit further about it as we get into the discussion here today. Yeah, I want to see some documentation, and I want to see what we can do to simplify things, right? And that's really where I'm running into a challenge here is you can do the research and you can find things about how to version your software with .NET for Windows and these things. But why do we have 8 different version numbers for the same piece of software? That's what I want to cross. That's what I want to figure out and talk about today. Fall in. Hello. Good evening to you. Policy Board. Nice. Welcome, Policy Board. Good to see you. She should have a cap by her name. Absolutely. She got a year. Look at that. Dee Dee's got the year cap there. For some reason, Twitch keeps rejecting your payment method. What? What? I don't know about that. That's ridiculous. So let me get some music playing in the background here, and we'll talk a little bit further. I want to explain the problem that I see with versioning and that I want to discuss here today with the group. I'm going to talk about how simple it should be. C17.
C17 are just resubscribed for 14 months. Keep up the good work.
Thank you for that. I'm going to talk about where we want to go with this, where it should be, how easy this should be. And let's see what we can do. Let's talk about the different solutions that folks have and what we can do to try and get these things coming together in one place. Because what other folks in other ecosystems have and what we have in the .NET and Windows application ecosystem are worlds apart. And the folks that are trying to cross the boundary between these and try and make something similar are writing lines and lines and lines of code when it should be one thing. Policy Board, there's a good start. NuGet versioning is... The features of NuGet versioning are one problem. And I'm referring to not NuGet.org, but just the packaging and delivery of a package of .NET features. It's It is Coding Bandit. It's very hard. It's not trivial here. I'm going to get, this is Orchid playing in the background. Here it comes. You know what? No, I want something a little bit peppier, something a little bit more fun. Hang on. There we go. This is Chartreuse. This is from our friend Mr. Carl Franklin. It's music to code by. It's music that's been engineered to get you in the flow, get you in the groove, so that you can focus on whatever the task might be. Coding, doing your homework, studying, chores around the house, yard work, whatever the case might be. Check it out, mtcb.pwop.com. Thank you so much, Carl. We appreciate you letting us listen to your music while we're writing some code here together. Check it out. And Hugo even put the tweet up there, put the command right there so you can get your copy. Hey, Veronica Hex, good to see you. Cloudy NJ says, NuGet isn't so bad. It's the internal package version dependencies that cause the most issues. And so, Cloudy, I don't want to talk about resolving versions, because that's a whole nother thing. There are some folks who want to be very aggressive about that. Give me the latest everything all the time. That's always the version that I want. I don't care if it's preview. I always want the latest version of everything. Okay. There are some folks who are very conservative about that. I want to pin this version, give me the earliest compatible version that works with this, that's frozen in time. Don't upgrade me past this at all. Always give me the earliest version. And those are two different strategies. Those are two different ways that folks approach how they manage dependencies. And they're both perfectly acceptable. There are people who will dogmatically say that you're completely wrong for doing it the other way. And there are some folks who want to walk right down the middle and say, well, I want to pick and choose the versions that I want. And all of those are perfectly fine. And I don't want to judge. I don't want to talk about those today. That's a whole separate issue. The issue I want to talk about today is how we stamp that number on our software. Because it's way too complicated. Not only is it way too complicated, but there's too many of these version numbers. Johan wants the latest preview. Get the bleeding edge version of everything. If you're not compiling directly from the source code that the developer just committed, what kind of a developer are you? We should make this better, stronger. Well, let me explain something to you. It's not that easy. And developers make mistakes. PolicyBorg says, what I don't get is if a project is missing a NuGet reference and Visual Studio decides to actually cross-link to DLL instead of referencing the original NuGet package. No, Visual Studio does not decide to cross-link. It gives you an option if it sees the DLL on disk somewhere. It says, I don't know what this NuGet package is. Let me try and find it and create this reference. It's trying to help you with whatever it can find. It's not always right, but it's looking for whatever it can find. It's not the best at what it finds, but it found something that matches what you're looking for. So, you know what I'm going to do today, friends? I saw our friend Imperial do this last night. I'm gonna turn this on here. I'm gonna open the channel points rewards here. Let me show you this on the screen. There they are. Here's all the different rewards that you can get if you turn in Fritz Bits, the little orange gears that you see at the bottom of it's over here, at the bottom of the chat room. You get those just for hanging out here, just for being a good participant. Hanging around through a raid, and you get even more of these, and there's all kinds of things that you can do that we'll do for you that are fun or create challenges for us here on stream. Including, I will change my voice to all kinds of different things here. We'll turn on live share. I'm not sure how much code I'm going to be writing today that'll make sense to do live share. I'll even review your code or record a voiceover for you if you'd like. But there are some default rewards here, and there was this one here that I really didn't want to turn on because I didn't feel like I wanted folks to be able to change and modify and do weird things to this. However, the modify a single emote right now, this will allow you to put holiday-themed ornaments, Santa hats, reindeer antlers, a red Rudolph nose on the various emotes. So I'm going to turn this on for a little bit. through the rest of the holiday season. And I closed that. I didn't actually adjust. There's a save button somewhere. There it goes. And I'm going to turn this on. Actually, let's kick it up from 900. Let's make it an even 1,000. All right. And if you'd like, you can modify and use the modified emotes here. There's all kinds of things you can do to put sunglasses on and make them black and white. Whole bunch of different things there. Check it out. 45,000 for SMAB. Holy crow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Oh my gosh. And let me open the queue here. So I've got this in front of me. Nobody has any redemptions right now. I'll just park that over there so we can talk about this. Fall In is an ASP.NET Web Forms developer, and there's similar types of issues over there that we can talk about and we can wander through. It's not always right, but it's never wrong. The GAC is what's messed up in the... Excuse me. The GAC is what's messed up in the past. Well, it should never be messed up. You shouldn't... Things get installed into the global assembly cache for .NET only if you approve it. That is a very hard thing to install into and mess up. Ale friends, good to see you. Let's see here. So GAC, how come bad config? Type forwarding resolved the assembly name in the GAC for... Okay, type forwarding is a whole nother problem and stuff that we aren't talking about. Frankus just had a lecture about reverse engineering .NET apps. Now that's kind of cool. There it goes. That's kind of cool. Reverse engineering .NET apps. All right, more power to you. Let me talk about the problem and where I think we want to be now about version numbering, and I don't want to get dogmatic about anything, but I want to talk about the problem. Some folks say they have possible solutions here. Let's take a look at those and step through and see what we can do to improve, to simplify, to create some documentation to make this easier. Because if we're struggling with it, what's that mean for the new developer? What's that mean for the new folks into our ecosystem? Because there's a whole nother problem coming for them. And they're going to give up and throw in the towel a heck of a lot earlier than we will. So, let's see if we can get this right. Let's see if we can talk this through and figure out what we can do to improve, make it a little bit clearer for folks, okay? Because
I love it when a plan comes together.
I love it when a plan comes together. I got some phlegm. I don't know where this came from. All right. Yeah, I'm drinking the G Fuel today, Coding Bandit. Absolutely. I've got pineapple today. The battle juice, they call it. Now, I see folks saying, Smab here is calling out saying, the Azure YAML editor is really good. I've been quite vocal about this. I despise dealing with YAML and JSON for configuration. They're schemaless. They're too free form. They're enforcing a dialect that I need to learn. And as somebody who just wants to solve a simple problem, give me a user interface in front of this so that I don't have to deal with it. And it's solving a problem that isn't a problem. It's creating more problems and more things that I need to learn and remember that I don't want to have to learn and remember. I know right. So if I take a look, and in particular, if I say edit over here on a pipeline, there is a thing in here that'll allow me to convert and save as YAML. Where is it? I don't even want to do it. Where is it? Where is it? There. So I've got, that's the JavaScript between them. Let's do this. Let's create a new pipeline. And I'll end up deleting it. But where's my code? My code is on. See, look at this. It's already saying you're going to create get a YAML. Oh. Oh.
Inconceivable!
Oh, man. All right.
Let me add some value.
I broke GitHub.
Jeff broke GitHub.
That's right.
Wait, let me explain something to you.
All I did was click the button to sign in. Poof. Thanks so much. It's been real. Take care, everybody. Good night. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate the cheer. And, yeah. Too many accounts. No.
Oh my.
All right. I don't know what to say. What do you say to that? Signed into GitHub. Username or email address. C#Fritz. Yes. Nope. All systems operational. No, they're not. All right. I guess we're not working with GitHub today. Who knew? Who knew? Try signing in via the homepage first. Sure. Sure. So there's a reason why I have to sign in using a private browser for this, and it's because my interactions get intercepted because I am an employee, and I get routed to things that I'm not supposed to be showing. Because for some reason they think it's a good idea to make the beta version of all these things the priority that appears for me. Okay. That makes sense to somebody. So now that I'm not going in through the alright. Nope, you're not gonna show it to me, are you? Really? Really? And I can't even force a refresh on this. That's nice. Because where I want to get to is this location. And there is no refresh button now. No. My repositories. And I can't force a refresh. Yeah. Okay. If anybody works for Azure DevOps today,
60% of the time, it works every time.
I honestly, I don't know what's going on here. I'm already in an incognito window, and I can't log in and work with my projects here in Azure DevOps. Try this one more time. devazure.com. Sign in. I mean, Hey, Fairy Wings, good to see you. Yes, I've broken the internet today. I'm in an incognito. Yeah, give you... Sure, I'll give you my credentials. Yeah, let me do that.
It's illegal in 9 countries.
Must be. Alright, so let me go down. We're going to try and configure this. We're going to try to create the pipeline one more time. It's taking a really long time to load stuff here. I don't know what's going on. Come on. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate the follow. Nick Zaza. Welcome. So here's this screen that was giving me the 500 before. Yep, that doesn't work. I'm not feeling too good about this. I will sign into GitHub manually again. And my two-factor authenticator. They should have written this in TypeScript. Yeah, there you go. TypeScript solves everything. And now it sees because I'm logged in over here. But is it actually going to find my repository? Yeah, maybe today should be F# Wednesday. Yeah. Why Firefox? Asks Baldclap. Why not? Since all of the major browsers now use Chromium as their engine, I like to keep things honest and use Firefox so that I've got that shared engine, not shared, that independent web engine that looks and feels. Nope, it's not there. And there is no refresh button anymore. The refresh repositories button is gone from here. Where I was a collaborator, and it's the same one that I'm using for the rest of this, but I cannot select. Yeah. That's my authentication over to GitHub. Maybe there's a refresh button at the connection settings. No, it should be in the list. It was in this list, and it's not. Make sure I provide access. I have it working in another pipeline here. I will go here. Settings. Integrations. Where was it? I thought it was interactions. Where did that go? Caching solves all the problems and creates about a half dozen more. This is Azure Pipelines. Organization access. It has access to my organization. Full control of repository hooks. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But it's not there. Yeah. All right. Second to the last option in settings. Let me go back. Why is it interactions and not integrations? That's a moderation. No. And no. This is deprecated, no longer available. So that's fine if you think it's in the develop. This is the settings for this. Features, data services, merge button. No. Okay. Look, fact of the matter is, Azure Pipelines is already building and seeing and interacting with this repository. The fact that I can't see it in this list is a friggin' disaster that these folks... why don't I have the refresh list here? There was a refresh button here, and it's no longer available. And I've clearly provided access to this organization, and it's available here. So, yes, the pipeline's already there. It already works. I was trying to go through and set it up with YAML to take a look at the YAML editor. Okay. This is wired up and using GitHub against that repository. But for some reason, now Azure DevOps can't see and interact with that. Here's what I'm going to do. And this taking so long is ridiculous. Come on now. Where is it? Is it preventing me from having two DevOps connections to the same repo for the same account? It's not preventing. Preventing's the wrong word. I would expect it to show it there. But I should be able to have multiple build pipelines against the same repository. Cannot create GitHub connection to a project. It's not a private project. Connection problem between Azure DevOps and GitHub organization. See, if I give it a name like this, they're gonna blow it off, and they're gonna say this is. Let me see what this is. November 4th. Since I changed my GitHub, well, that's different. Load the draft. Cannot refresh. List of GitHub projects. Yeah. Let's see what this one has. Yes, I do hope that... I mean, the number of struggles that I do have with some of these things is disheartening. A fix for this issue has been released. No. When creating a pipeline. As I attempt to create a pipeline, a DevOps pipeline for an existing project and connect to a GitHub repository that another pipeline in the project already has access to, I cannot select the same repository as the source for a second pipeline. You got yours listed again? So if I click through GitHub here, and I'm also getting those 500 errors, right? No. And there's no way to request a refresh here. The refresh button is gone. So we won't be doing that today. If I pull down and select all repositories, it looks across. I mean, let's see what happens. Sure. Why not? We're already in at this point. Because I'm already. Bart, no, we haven't touched Semver here, and Semver actually I think is a great idea. We're not having a problem with Semver. The question is the minefield of all the different places where we store version numbers. And we can't even get Azure DevOps to connect right now. So, yeah, only 4,400 repositories. This isn't mine. So, yeah. And this has become very much a rule on this stream. A rule in very much the same way that gravity is a law that you cannot defy. We have problems every time we touch Azure here on stream. Jeremy Knight!
Jeremy Knight _ just resubscribed for 9 months. C# Hype Bot.
Thank you so much, Jeremy Knight. I appreciate that resub. That's going to put you into a green hat. Thanks so much. And we'll make a donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Very cool. Thank you. Now I see it. Now that I go and select all, and it literally searches through the entire thing. It already has access. It's already there. I mean, it was already there. I'm not quite sure what it's doing because it was already interacting and doing these things. Right? Configure your pipeline. It's not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. So I have to start fresh. Or maybe there's something down here. No. No, no. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, no. I'm building a NuGet package in this case. There isn't anything here that gets you started pointing in that direction. Nor is there a .NET Core application here. So I feel like those are some missing templates that would be great for some folks to be able to build. But yeah. I guess I'm starting empty. Yeah, I don't want to change a bunch of these things. So, okay, this is interesting. Now there's this show assistant here. Okay. So, as somebody who doesn't know this syntax, I've now got to come over here and follow, right? Try and keep these two side by side. So the hierarchy is directed and is reflected in the structure of the YAML file, and that's not what's at the top here. What's at the top here is trigger. Stage. I don't see stage. Pipeline, schema, name, resources. That doesn't look like this either. You specify a single You see my confusion. The documentation and what's being described here doesn't match what's over here. So, well, it was suggested that I take a look at the UI here, and yes, Simo, I'm getting build pipeline fatigue here because the syntax that I'm being told in the documentation. Okay, steps. I see here. Jobs isn't a thing. I don't want to see reference. Tell me to create my first pipeline. Let's start over here. Right? So feedback. Starter pipeline. Add steps that build test. This is a link to the reference documentation. We need a link here that also links out to the tutorial for how to get started, because you're literally in something called starter. And we don't have this. Yes, thank you for the follow. Is that Volcon? Welcome. Schneeko. Azure DevOps is the cloud utility for container solutions? No. The Azure DevOps is the DevOps solution that Microsoft offers for free for open source projects to build, test, and deploy your projects. I'm struggling with some of the nomenclature, some of the features, and how it integrates with our tools, because what I'm running into here is the syntax for the... Come on. The syntax for these doesn't... Okay. Doesn't look anything like... And now we're at a command line here. I'm trying to find somewhere here that matches where I am to get started, and it doesn't. Okay, hang on. Understand the Azure Pipelines YAML file. Is that what I have here? Azure Pipelines YAML. Okay. Trigger master pool. Okay, trigger master pool. Steps. And we have tasks here. I guess script is the same. So... Okay, now I've got type ahead on these. Interesting. Alright. Okay, so... It's... I'm still struggling to get this started. But it sure looks like between this assistant... It feels like they're moving in a better direction. And sure, it's nice to be able to version this file with my repository, but I don't really need it in the repository. I need it to run with Azure DevOps. I don't care that it's over there. So, yes, that was Steve Ballmer, Daily Disclosure. He comes up and welcomes all of our new developers. So you can get one DevOps for me. Yep, you sure can. So, do you use pipelines with GitLab, GitHub? Yes, and that's actually what I've been doing here, is using it together. Let me bail out of this one. I have another pipeline here that does work with it. There it is, and this is checking out from my source code on GitHub. Here, this project that I'm working on, and the contents of this project for today don't really matter. What you need to know is that it's a .NET Standard project that we're packaging as a NuGet package. And NuGet is .NET's packaging system, similar to pip or npm in the Python or JavaScript worlds. So, yes, it'll work with PowerShell and scripts. Yes, absolutely. Okay, what I want to be able to do is let me start at the beginning. The problem that we've run into is there are many version numbers littered across the .NET project and Windows ecosystem. Consider... let me start over here, and let me go into... If I go into... No, it's not... Sure, we'll start here. Inside Windows, if I go to the Microsoft.NET folder, and I go find a framework, and I'll just choose the latest 4.0 version of the framework. And let's scroll down here, and let's pick something... System.link. System.link, this is a DLL that you have available to you on everybody's operating system. If you're running Windows 10, you have this DLL. And if we look at the details, there is a file version, there is a product version, there are signatures to go with this, but there are two different versions here, and in this case, the version numbers are the same, 4.8, 3752. So, for those keeping track at home, we have a file version, We have a product version. We haven't even gotten into, there's something called assembly version. And we're just at the beginning. Let me jump over here and let's go to docs, Microsoft.com. And I'm just going to, now, let's go to .NET, right? And I mean, this is a confusing thing for folks. I want to make sure that we understand and get this thing correct. And we figure out how we can do this better for folks. There is a version class. This is a type for a version. This is available in .NET Framework 4.8 and .NET Framework, .NET Core 3.1 and the earlier versions of .NET Core. Where is it? There you go. All the versions of .NET Core, all the versions of .NET Framework. It's in .NET Standard, so it's available pretty much everywhere, including Xamarin. Multiple .NET, we're talking about synchronizing and getting version numbers correct. We've also got the assembly name.version. Where does this thing come from? Right, this is how you can reference and get the version, right? And it's the assembly version attribute here inside of your project. So that's a thing that you can write into code. There's also, where is it? Right, so I'm up here in the properties of this. Assembly. So there's assembly version. I can write that version number here. There's also version. There's version prefix, version suffix. There's Visual Studio version. Which one's which? There's also package version. And after you commit your things to source control, you're going to have you're probably going to have a git tag. That also has a git SHA, right? For that commit, right? Every commit that you write into your source control, and I'll show you here, right, has a SHA. It has this hash, hexadecimal hash that corresponds to it. So this is a version number as well. So I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm at 8 different version numbers. Do you see the problem? SMAB has a link here for the myriad versioning systems. Yeah. So we have, where do you see? So we have the runtime operating system. Where am I scrolling down to here? I mean, there's a lot of different components going on here, and that makes perfect sense, right? Because when you think about how our operating systems get put together, I don't see assembly info. Is that what I'm looking for? Yes, look at these. So these are the various assemblies that are being referenced. Okay, okay. There, file version, informational version. What's the informational version? There's a new one. What's the informational version? And these are the versions on all the various things that you're referencing, and that's okay. But there's assembly version, there's file version, and product version. We've already talked about those three, right? But these are all the various components that make this up. And you see this in other operating systems, other frameworks that are using services. But yeah, all of these things are being composed together. You see this if you're using NPM. You've got a series of base packages that everything depends on, and you see this type of hierarchy of things that are basic that you don't want to maintain. Things like the HTTP protocol. let that be managed by someone else. Rubber Key.
Rubber Key just resubscribed for 3 months.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the sub. That's going to put you into a red hat, and we're going to make another donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Informational, yeah. That gets even more confusing. And check out the version numbers here. 3.10 plus, and it's got a SHA next to it. So what's going on here is, this is a preview version, right? Or it's a nightly build version, and so that they can track and keep an eye on you're using a preview version, they've embedded the SHA. This thing from Git as part of the version number. Clever, very clever, because you've opted in because you're going and getting a nightly or a preview build. They're bringing that information in so that when there's a support request or somebody says, hey, this isn't working for me, you can see exactly which version it relates to in source code and walk it back. That's the goal. Take care, Johan. Have a good one. That's RTM 3.1. I kind of disagree. That's not... You shouldn't have the SHA hanging out there like that. That's the RTM. Right? That's actually the RTM. This is a pre-release RTM, actually. Right? This is one of the test versions before the RTM. If I remember how they version number those properly. So, thank you for the follow, Ascension. So this is the problem. One, two, three, four, five, six. We have 9 different version numbers. 9. I think for software developers, I don't care which one of these you look at. They should be the same. Why do we have all these different version numbers? I can kind of buy the difference between product version and file version. I can kind of buy that. That I'm okay. I think I'm okay with. Because product version might be something like, right, .NET Core 3.1, right? Or Visual Studio 2019, which is actually 16.5. I get that. That makes sense. So in my assemblies for Visual Studio, if it says product version 16.5 point something, okay, that's, as a product version, makes sense. But these ones, file version, assembly version, for DLLs and libraries, right? Oops. These shouldn't be, and I'd love for that one to be dialed in as well. These shouldn't be different. There are historical reasons for, let me put that message up. There are historical reasons for sometimes why they differ, yes. However, that's the exception, not the rule. For the most part, right, if this is the product version, why is this different from that? You versioned the product, but you didn't version the assembly? And all of the assemblies have the same version. They were stamped. Why do we have a mishmash of these? So there's something going on there that's telling me a story that can be confusing. And to go further, the one that I haven't even mentioned on here yet is the CI build number. Let me go back over to Azure DevOps. Did I dump out of that entirely? I may have. Nope, it's over here. Here's a version number for something that's being built for a pull request. Hey, does this... Right here, this is one for a pull request. Does this one match? Right, does this work? It's a throwaway version number because I'm never going to use this. However, some folks might. But how do we get that to be the same all the way through for these things, right? Especially when it's here on my master branch. This is the one I want to publish. I want to publish this. I want this to match that and that and that and that and that. And hopefully the tag that I put down also. And this. And that's the challenge. That's the problem that I would love to see solved. And Smab has a link there for some versioning demos. I think I already opened your link here. So, and there's a comment here from Ale Franz saying that the product version is the only one that is SemVer2 compliant. They're all SemVer2 compliant. They all are. Across the board, they're now SemVer2 compliant. So, in this new world of .NET Core that we're working through, the assembly version should match the package version. This should be kind of a no-brainer. And that's what the version attribute is trying to do. Where is it? I had this open. Not the version class. Where did it go? And it's not in .NET Framework. It's in .NET Core. It's not even here. Nice. Nice. CS Proj. Version element. Let's take a look. Runtime framework. No. Come on, we can find this faster. Nope, it's not here. Nice. All right, where'd it go? Because I was looking at the documentation for this last night. Implicit no. Package version. This is where I saw it. Specifies the version of the resulting package will have. Accepts all forms of NuGet version string. Default is the value of version, the property version of the project. But version isn't in. Version isn't here. So we can't do reflection and find it. So that's weird. That's an ugly disconnect there. Let me say hello. Let's see what's going on here. Let me grab Smab's link there. I thought I had that already. We'll take a look at that. Andrew Arnott. Hello, hello. Different versions are capable of being described with more or less detail. For example, file version is strictly ABCD, but assembly informational version can be an arbitrary string. I get it. We're setting up for the exception and not for the 90%. Isn't there somewhere in the options a way to define the build version? Well, so now if you go over here and we go to project, properties, that's not right. Try that again. Oh, we're batting 1,000 today. I broke DevOps. I broke GitHub. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Is that going to work now? Now it works. There is a package version that's declared here. If I go up to application, version isn't there. Version's not in there. It's in package there. No. Sign the assembly. No, not there either. No. Is it in the... No, it's not over there either. So, version number for the project isn't exposed here. Is it... This is for the C# compiler. Yeah. So that's not there either. So, the only place that you can specify a version is there. And if I set that version, let's just force something different in there just so we can... It's saved here, which flows down into package version, assembly... Well, does it flow into assembly version? And file version? I don't know. Assembly version has impact on CLR binding, so changing it less frequently than NuGet version is basically mandatory. I get that. I get that. So they should be very similar, even if it's the last number that's changing. We need a new version field to implement a true version. No. Yeah, I agree. That's an XKCD. You can only use digits and dots in assembly version and file version. Well, and Andrew's pointing out that those are only 3 numbers. Yes, Svava, we've broken Azure DevOps and GitHub. We've gotten 500 errors from both of those today. And some versions are set as attributes in the assembly. Yes. So there are a lot of different places here. And yeah, your Brian hurts. Yes. So lots of different places here that the version numbers flow, and to the beginner, it's not clear how to get this version number in here and where to go with it. Lucky number 7.
Lucky knows 7 Evin just resubscribed for 7 months. Sup.
Hey there, my friend. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we're kind of squirreling a little bit here on the concept of version numbers and where these all go. So, okay. So, and Minver, and there's a couple other of versioning packages that we looked at, and they all store and interact with and get version numbers in different ways and store them in different locations. And depending on how you're building, you're not always going to be able to access this. Lucky number 7 asks, is this for framework, NuGet, or other? It's for .NET. The versioning concepts that we have are significant. And we'd like to get those to line up as much as possible by default. And I want to be clear here, there are reasons and there are times where these should change. I'm not debating that at all. But trying to get these to line up for the new developer, for the person building their first project, for the person where these things should be the same because there's only one person working on it, is really, really hard. The NuGet version is probably distinct. Yes. Yes. Right, this is a question of, and when we when we look at building frameworks, building tools, building packages, building software for other folks to use, we want to make it as easy as possible to succeed quickly. So the idea of how do we pass the version number around between these various things should be a first-class citizen. With the release of .NET Core and the way that we interact with NuGet, it's a little bit further down the path. It's not quite as easy for folks to interact with. So, this is a good point from Andrew. It's a long message. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up in. Yeah. When you build a NuGet package version across many versions, many Git commits, you're not going to get unique package versions, and you will pollute package caches. Polluting package cache is something that developers don't like. Consider, if you get latest of a package version every time on your workstation, you're going to end up with a messy local package cache. So, as software publishers, we should be, not diligent isn't the right word. We should be good citizens, responsible citizens, that we're releasing things when there is a truly meaningful update to things. Using versioning package, so that's one, NerdBank GitVersion, provides a guarantee that every Git produces a unique package version. And I like that. I like that a lot. And that's why I'm to go back to what we saw over here from SMAB, I like seeing the SHA embedded when you're on a pre-release version of something as part of the version number. That's great. Because it is pre-release, you've opted into a little bit more interaction here that not everybody wants or needs. Makes perfect sense there. I am way on board with this. The concern that I have is there's, right, so it's threefold, right? How do we consistently set the version number in our projects, set the version numbers, how do we link this to a GitHub, to a, let's just say Git, because you may not store on GitHub, you might use other services. Azure DevOps has a repository service. Bitbucket is out there. Google has their source code repository. There's all kinds of places you can store that use Git. You may use Mercurial, whatever your source control storage might be. How do we link this to, let's just say, a source control hash, which means that I need the right, which then runs into the commit before version number, which is a little weird. And actually, source control hash and a tag, right? Well, a tag or a label. And finally, how do we push this into our continuous integration? Right? Those are the three things that should be by default for folks. Really easy to pick up and do. Now, what I ran into, and I said, oh my gosh, is the NPM version. Look at this. There's one version number for an NPM, for a node project. And it's, where is it? Let me run npm init here locally. Right. Let's call this npm test. If I just npm init, sure, that's fine. I just want to, I don't care about all these values, but it's right there. If you need a version for your NPM, for your node, for your JavaScript project, it's right there. There's one version, that's it. And there's one way in and out to update it. Yeah, that's fine. Right? And if I npm version, right, it'll first off show me all the different things there, but if I npm version help, right, there it is. I can specify major, minor, pre-patch, pre-major, pre-minor, pre-patch, pre-release. So, right, and even from Git, I can jam that on the end. So lots of different options to one way in, set that, manage it, and get the version number out of it right there. Right, if I say npm view version, will it give me the version for this project? There's a way to get it. npm ls to inspect. Yeah, there it is, right there. So, for my continuous integration system, that's an easy way for me to get that version number and do something with it. How do I do that? How do I... And how do I... Right, there's 2 or 3 things there that I want to make sure I get lined up right. Let me look back at chat. So SMAP shows examples of those. So we'll get there. We'll get there. But that is the same as the CS proj, only without a command. Is it? The only issue that Andrew has with NPM is that the full precision package version has to be recorded in source control, and you can't do auto versioning for unique version numbers. I get that. Yep. Hey, Copperbeardy. Hello, hello. So how do we push all those version numbers back and forth, right? Right. Right. It's the bend over backwards, Andrew, that I think we want to avoid. There's also, when we start depending on source control hash, tag, or label, if you're not building in the same location as your Git or Mercurial or whatever other repository, your local copy of it, and you don't have those references, it doesn't work. So if you're building a Docker container, that doesn't work, because you're not necessarily building and copying in all of your Git references into the container when the container does the build. The container, right, if you have one container build another container, containers building containers. I said containers too many times. Robert Tables is going to show up. You run into a collision there, and it, right, any of the Git versioning inspection tools, and we've looked at Minver, we've looked at GitVersion, we've looked at NerdBank GitVersion. They'll fall apart at that point because they don't have references to Git. They don't know where the repository is. They don't know where the tags are, so they can manage and set those up. So that's the challenge there, right? There's a thing there that we need to work around and deal with. So those are all the challenges. That's where these are the questions I want to be able to answer. And I'm not going to have all the answers today, but I want to explain the problem, because a number of folks, when I explained this problem last night on Twitter, got very upset at me. Oh my gosh, we need all these things. You have amazing control. It's terrific what you can do with these things. And they go to produce scripts that are dozens of lines long. See how easy that is? That's not easy. You've fallen into version number Stockholm syndrome. Thank you for the follow, MXG. Welcome. NerdBank GitVersion does have a hook to allow you to look somewhere else for Git history. Interesting. Okay. Thank you for the follow. The Slam Anderson, welcome. Agreed, Smap. For small teams, it's not necessary. How do we get the initial success of having version numbers line up and pass all the way through? Because if I do .NET New, I'll just create a net standard, right? And I'll put it to let's just call this net test, just so I create a new project here. When we look at what the new project has, what do you mean? What? No. Where's the .NET Standard one? Hello? Okay, there was a .NET Standard project. Let me just create a class library. Yeah. Just so I can get an initial project here. Right? That's great. Look at how simple that is. What's the version number? Right? I mean, okay, I can do .NET build -p right, -p version equals 0.1.0, and it'll pass in that version property, right? Start bin debug net standard. It's got the version number that I specified. But I had to know this. Furthermore, it's not there. So yes, it defaults to 1.0. Thank you for the follow. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I appreciate you joining us. So, how do we set folks up for success? Because since it's being defaulted here to 1.0, how do I get that version number and pass it along to somewhere else? Right? That's when I want to pass that version number over to Azure DevOps, because this is the version that was built. How do I do that? Hey, Restocks!
Just subscribed.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you resubscribing. Thank you very much. And we'll make a donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Sure, I'll kick out a project command there. Thank you, Hugo. I appreciate you setting that. So, right, we've got this disconnect where it makes perfect sense if we're pulling that version number in from a third-party library, right? Whether it's GitVersioning, Minver, NerdBank GitVersioning, we're pulling that from somewhere that's generating this number. We're passing it in, and we can hopefully take that number and pass it along somewhere else. That's really hard to do unless you already know about those projects, those things, and you're willing to spend a lot of time going and finding how to do that. Our friend James Montemagno wrote, where is it? Not the hash. What the heck are these things on the side, Twitter? I don't know what these are. What happened to my likes? Likes. I don't know what are bookmarks? I don't know what bookmarks are. I can't bookmark anything. Where to go? Our friend. Where to go? James Montemagno. I bookmarked it here. Bill and Ted. No, I don't have it. There he is. Wrote a really nice blog post that he talks about here, where he sets up trying to be as simple as possible to build .NET libraries, because he needs to build across a bunch of different .NET standard versions: Android, iOS, Mac, tvOS. And what he does is he passes in the build number into the package version that's being defined by Azure DevOps. This feels like the bare minimum simplest way to do this. Steve Ballmer everywhere should be considered a bug. No. No. Gosh, he ran his developers welcome is something that I think everybody smiles and laughs at. This model is part of the DevOps Open Hack. I don't know what that is. Is that something that I can download, that I can point to, and I can learn? Is there some documentation there that I can read? I'm not procrastinating writing unit tests. I want my unit tests to have a version number with them so that they're valuable, so I can point to them. And when you change the version in project properties package, it does appear in the... Yes, that's right, Tensei. We looked at that a little bit ago. That right? Wow. That appears there. Yes, it does. But when I'm in a continuous integration system, how do I get it into there? Well, I have to pass in a command line switch to the build process to do a thing, and variable groups are updatable via the build pipeline by making a REST call to a DevOps API. Cloudy NJ, you're speaking Greek to me. Variable groups are update. What's a variable group? I want to set a build number. Hey, Sean. Use .NET Standard. We are. Variable group values persist across multiple builds. Help me out here. Git flow is not part of this at all. We aren't talking about source control specifically. We're talking about getting a version number into our software. No Cloud CI's numbering system should dictate the version number in what you ship. I can see both sides of it. It's usually some incrementing integer concatenated to a date. Meaningless. Disagree. It's the state of the software at the date and time that it was built and potentially shipped. That's actually kind of important. The source should drive the CI's build number so that it matches the package version you build. Disagree. The change in the source control, which is snapshotted by continuous integration, and hopefully also a git tag, a source control tag or label, is identifying that instance, that point in time, that snapshot that's being built and potentially delivered. That tells me the connection of all those instances is a version. And if we go back to the folks who are the Azure DevOps product team and marketing folks and their advocates, they explicitly tell me, do not do this. Never, ever, never, ever, never, ever, ever, never, never, never.
You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
It does mean what I think it means. Never right-click publish. Don't do that. They call this evil. Okay. That means then that my publish comes out of my continuous integration system and it's pointing at a snapshot, a point in time. I'll get to you in a second. I'm discussing here. And that point in time is dictated by when the continuous integration, when the build server picks up and creates my software. I will SMAB. Hang on. But for software you ship, you might need to ship a servicing fix, and that version should not be newer than the latest from your master branch. Well, of course it's newer. It was built later. New is merely a definition of relative time. So I'm going to get to your samples here, and we'll look at that. The incrementing integer is stored in Azure DevOps as a variable group value. Okay. Surely the commit tag is the snapshot you're referencing. Yes, Mr. Magoo. Yes. No, I refuse to use YAML. Vino Miss, because quite frankly, it's a little standoffish. It's a little bit tricky, a little bit difficult to parse for beginners. And if you're going down and getting into and telling folks they need to write script in code just to build to get a version number to match, we've already lost. We've already made a mistake. This is way too complicated for the simple scenario. And I'm talking about the simple scenario only. Once things get complex and you have different versioning branches that are out there, and you have a servicing release that needs to happen, different things happen at that point. But I stand by my belief that the build server is the arbiter of version number, because it's the one that's doing the build. It's the one that's saying, this is the version, this is what is potentially shippable. And it's taking a snapshot in time from a commit in source control and releasing. You can provide me a YAML. It's using variables that auto-increment between builds. So there are ways to do that, right? That variable number, it would be attached to a older version number, an older base version number. There's differences in how those build numbers get managed and released, right? Consider, if I have, I don't have anything set up to show this. If I have different branches with different tags on those different branches, my master branch is already on version 3, but I've got a servicing branch that was branched off at version 2. I may have additional tags in there because I'm releasing version 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, those servicing releases. Those are independent and different and managed separately from the build. I want to derive and have a base version number, and this is where I do agree with a little bit of what the different Git versionings do, that comes out of the label I've assigned to my source control. There are additional pieces of information that go with that are defined and set at continuous integration, at build time. And you can't build and get the commit into the version number at the same time. It's a chicken and the egg thing. The build server has to issue the build numbers, as a build from any other source could be junk. Yes, that's the arbiter. That's the system that's defining this, right? And right, we're just talking now about defining who sets the build number, how it gets deployed out to all the other places, how it fans out from there to assembly version, file version, product version, build number inside continuous integration, how it goes out to all those places, and we've identified 8 different places where it needs to get to, is a whole nother kettle of fish. And we're going to get there. All right. Can we all just agree that my hat is making you hungry? Well, you like the Pizza Planet hat? You can request I change my hat. There is the ability to do that. So, okay. Left side of your brain, did I say French? Nope, I said branch. That's right, Frank. Good to see you, my friend. Frank Boucheros is here. He's another one of the live coders. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening to me rant for a little bit here. So okay, hang on. It's Mike has a good question here. You know what? It's Mike. That's a very good question. Let me pop this up so we can talk about this. It didn't pop up. There it is. When I want a friendly build version to display to users, say in the app's control bar, what do you do? That's a really good question. So what It's Mike is suggesting, and thank you for the follow, M477Q. When I go down into like help here in Firefox and I say about, and it says 71.0, right? That's great. That's really cool. It's Mike. I would say if we look at the various, that is a product version. That product version is probably the base 2 version numbers or some marketing number, right? Because this Visual Studio 16.5 is also Visual Studio 2019, right? Some marketing number that some folks, some brand, right? That some folks have defined, and that's okay, right? That is out there, and for most folks, that's the exception, not the rule. That's okay. There are ways to override, there are ways to add that in after the fact, and I'm okay with that, and make that the exception when you want to define that as something different. If I go back here to Visual Studio, right, and I want to set the product version, right? But I don't need to do that, right? So, code build and marketing build are really different. You're absolutely right. That's a very good point there, right? And sometimes, let me make sure I put that up there. Code build and marketing build, right? And the marketing build, right? Or that RTM, right? Or we used to call that the gold build, right? This was the one you put on the gold CD or DVD and send off to manufacturing, right? That doesn't happen all that often, right? That happens, the one that marketing is going to promote. That is very much the exception because you're doing continuous integration builds dozens of times a day, and you've got a nightly build that you're going to stamp and say this is the nightly one that quality assurance is going to work through, right? These types of things, right? That only happens once a day. This happens once every couple months, right? For .NET, it's once every 3 to 6 months, maybe even once a year, right? In Visual Studio, it's once every 3 months. They're trying to release a new patch version, a new minor version of Visual Studio once every 3 to 6 months. So you're absolutely right. This is a very good point for, is that, let me make sure I pronounce your name right. Is that Vino Mies? Let me know. Thank you so much. That's a great comment. We don't do anything super fancy with our versioning, says Simo, but we just tag and build in Team City. Terrific. Andrew says, Venomis. Venomis? Is that right? Andrew says that NerdBank GitVersion defines a disassembly class where you can get any of the version numbers you want, so you can display it to the app user. So, and this is trying to paint over a little bit of the proliferation of version numbers here. That sounds really cool. All right, I'm on board with that. Cool. That makes sense. The accent on no. Venomis. Venomis. All right, cool. The full build number can be very helpful for support reason. Venomous, like a snake. Ah, I get it. Yeah. So lots of different ways that we can set these version numbers, and there's plugins that will help you set these. Now let me see what Smab's been saying. You gotta look at the demos. 3 versions generally referenced with the .NET Core assembly: the file version, the product version, and the assembly version. And the one that isn't listed here is package version, which can be different. So, let's make sure we get that dialed in here. So version sample projects, nothing set by default defaults to one setting of value. You can edit project csproj. Setting all values, editing Visual Studio. Using Visual Studio, you can edit project csproj. Just use version, well now, right, and here's where things start to get a little different. There's version prefix. So I can specify we are 2.0.0, and it'll lob into there, right? You can have a suffix, beta 1. Replicate build and revision wildcards by implementing Roslyn's version pattern logic. So you end up with, yeah, look at this. Right, system, date, time, op subtraction. Oh dear Lord. Right, and this gets kind of crazy. So your version then becomes major version, minor version, build, revision. And major version, minor version are separate version numbers being passed in. And right, very, very flexible. Incredibly flexible. If you have need for this, terrific. You're setting, this all trickles down in setting version here, which then rolls out to some of those other places. But how do I get that version number out and into my build system? Thank you for the follow, Bald Clap. I appreciate you joining us. I'm assuming you're follically challenged there. Just guessing, based on the name. So, the Visual Studio Team Services build. Add configured build number from VSTS to the version suffix. Okay, so version suffix, if the build number is not set, get the system date time. Right, and look at this. Right, jamming on basically a date stamp as the version suffix. If it is available, then jam the build number on there. And we're still using this prefix that's been hard-coded. Okay. Oh my goodness. Lucky number 7 has redeemed wear a different hat with his channel points. Let me pause here for a second. Which hat would you like me to wear? Do you want me to go back to... I had the Mandalorian hat on yesterday. You don't like the Pizza Planet hat? You don't like that? It's already in the build system. It just flows if you don't specify anything else. Yes, Smab. I'm waiting to get a preference here from Lucky number 7. I totally agree that with... Right? So... Smab, with this... Right? And let me zoom in just a little bit here. Right? Because you're using build underscore build number, it's flowing, that value flows out of the continuous integration system. Terrific. Other build systems have different variables here. So you're passing in, right? You're getting clobbered. You're going to have to write all kinds of if conditions depending on what continuous integration system you're building on. Build number is the one here. AppVeyor has a different syntax. Other folks have different syntaxes as well. And this can get a little dicey. And that's why some folks opt to pass it in with that -p property that we saw over here. -p for .NET to set the version number. And if you're in JavaScript, they'll call npm version and force the version number there inside of their build process to force it in. Got an Azure one? I do have an Azure one. And yes, I said JavaScript. Let me go grab the Azure hat, and I will put that on. We'll switch to that one. Let me give me 1 second there, Andrew. I will come right back to your question. Let me go grab that other hat that I promise. Be right back. Shut up. How's that? Azure hat, huh? You like that? All right. Done. Redeemed. Honored. There you go. So a couple different ways here that this can be done. I like how you've laid these out, these samples, Smab. Very nice. Andrew says, I'm making the argument that that's why the software you're building should determine the version number and use a package that shares that with any CI system to keep it simple from the project. Hang on, let me try and parse that again. Let me put this up. The software I'm building, the software should determine the version number and use a package that shares that with any CI system and keep it simple for the project. No, I'm not. I'm looking at the samples that Smab has here. I'm not completely agreeing with everything that's going on here. And the build number here is coming out of the continuous integration system. I can force the version suffix in with another -p property here and have that come off of the build number. So I'm still on board about that. The context I was talking about was all these conditions you have to add in order to get the CI built. Yes. Yes, well, I can do, right, from whatever system that I'm in, right? I can say version suffix equals, right? Foobar, right? And, right, it'll build and set that from wherever. This should be able to be set by any system, right? And if I go back to here. Pre-foobar. So I'm okay with that being passed in from outside. If you don't mind customizing the CI build pipeline to build with special parameters, then you can do it without conditions in your MS build project. Now you're feeding into the next point that I want to talk about. Oh yes, because I'm going to try and go back over. I'm going to try and go back over to Azure DevOps. Let's see if I can get back in there. Yeah. That's how I feel about this today. So when I'm in here and I'm looking at my pipeline, let me go back and play the music again. Right, I was down here. And I build. There's arguments here, but there's no way for me to pass in. This is a .NET Core build task. There's no way for me to pass in, here's the version number. I submit to you version number being passed in here. And to be clear, I can do this. I can do that. Yes, absolutely. That's totally a thing that you can pass in here. Or I can pass in but if that's the good practice that we want to encourage folks to do, why isn't that another text box? It's in options and it's in a pipeline variable. Where? build number format. It's right there. There's the build number. Terrific. But it doesn't stamp the version. Great, I can set the build number format right here. I'm on board with that. I'm okay with that. Makes perfect sense to me. Okay, sure. I also like what Andrew is suggesting, that the git tag, the git SHA, should also feed into this. I'm okay with that as well. How do I get the numbers from there out? Yeah, it does look like it is restoring packages twice. Yeah, the no, you're absolutely right. And right, that's a whole another thing here is, right, I have an explicit restore step. I should have this with a no build here. No restore. And furthermore, when I go down to test, well, this one, I actually don't have it build and restore the test project. This one, though, I do want a... Okay, so now on pack, automatic package versioning, use the build number, time and date, environment variable. So I need to write that somewhere else. And there is no additional arguments for the .NET pack command. So now what? So package is restoring and rebuilding. Right. There's no way for me to go and say no build here. Right? And this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying I want to have a continuous simple, right? And the key is simple for the default scenario. So that same thing flows all the way through. And right, there are other build variables. Where? If I go over here, right, and we look at build configuration, build platform, system collection, system debug, definition ID, team project. If I look at variable groups, there's nothing defined over here, right? Across multiple pipelines. Right. I want to get the simple scenario, right? I want that number right there to appear right there with some sort of build number after it that's appropriate, and also I'd love to get the SHA along with that, and that's what I really like about the git versioning techniques is I can grab the SHA and make that part of this. I want to get that to flow through to here, and that's where it's right. There's a link there for predefined variables. Let me go back. This is running really slow today. I don't know what's going on. So if I edit the pipeline, the predefined variables is documentation. System access token, debug, right? Look at all these. Agent. This is stuff about the agent that's building. Build variables. Artifact staging directory. Build ID. Build number. This is the one that we're going after. Binaries directory. Definition name. Definition version. Build queued by. Build queued by ID. Build reason. And these are the, right? Repository ID, repository local path, repository name, repository provider. So I can get GitHub out. Okay. URI for the repository. Source branch name. Sources directory, source version, so I can get the commit ID if I grab the source version and drop it in there. Okay, that's pretty cool. That helps with some of this, for sure. You can't do that interaction with pack using the common interface. Okay, I would declare that then a bug. I would declare that that's a missing feature, a logical bug, because it's not there. Thank you for the follow, Jason M. Appreciate you joining us. Okay. Venomous has a link here for us. Let me make sure I get it opening in the right. No, but wow, it didn't open in the right one. So the minute you have to use YAML, you've alienated more than 50% of the audience. I don't want this. Fine. Right? Because now I've got to learn your dialect of YAML, and you're forcing people to do something that is not the simple scenario. I agree, Smab. I don't want to use YAML for this. So, several things that I'm going to do here. Let me go back into pipelines. Yes, we're developers. That's right. But we're developers who just want our application to build. We don't want to have to go through a lot of ceremony, right? To be fair, in previous versions of .NET and .NET Framework, every time I hit F5 here, every time I click this button, it increments the version number for me. And that's the way that worked. But now in the practice of continuous integration servers as being the standard, the de facto, the recommended way to build things, it doesn't do that anymore. Okay. Then let's make it as simple to make this work. You built a non-YAML version. A non-YAML version of what? Can do it with a variable group. So you're taking me over here, right? First off, there is no button for me to create variable groups here. I have to link a variable group, and there are none. Sure. Variable group must have at least... Oh, okay. Fritz build version number? Okay. And... now what? So I can see your build. Prepare job, initialize job, checkout, restore, build, NuGet push. Yeah, I don't think I can see. How do I get out of here? Your variables that are set out here. You didn't use variable groups. I think you've already passed the level of complexity he wants to see, though. Yeah. What I call build version generated by the build server is just one component of the version. Yes, the patch. You still have to decide where to store major and minor, which cannot be auto-generated. I agree. Yes. The challenge is updating the number. So, right, if I... let me back out of this. I don't think I need variable groups, right? Let's actually break this down and try and do this a little bit more... like, let's actually focus and try and make the change here to get this to do the thing that I want it to do. I think. So in build, I agree with Andrew, right? I can pass in arguments here, and I want to say no restore here. Right? Is that how I do it? .NET build. I want to pass the no restore, so it doesn't try and restore twice. Yeah, -- no restore. Okay, got that. Added no restore to the build step. Okay, so if we want to pass in the version number, right? So that's something that's going to be specific per branch. And I would want to be able to pass that in, hopefully, from the nearest tag version. And this is where I think GitVersion and MinVer do a good job, but they run those outside of... okay. Right, that runs outside of the build version number acquisition here. The keyboard that I'm using is, there you go, there's information about it, Rippin Heizung. Welcome. Delete the .NET pack step and add a -t build pack to my .NET build step so that I don't restore and build again just a pack. Well, right, I'm at a... Right, I can... Since this is kind of clumsy here for me. Thank you for the follow, Davipar. Welcome. I can store the major and minor in a variable group, and then they are available as variables in the pipeline. They're available as variables in the pipeline. So... Thinking. I'd rather them come off of a Git label. The pack step has a... Oh yeah, do not... Oh gosh, it's already doing it. Thank you. I was looking right over it, looking for arguments that I could pass in. Because, right, I still don't have the ability to pass a version number here. Right, I mean, it's using the build number, which means I need to, right, reset that somewhere. Because the build number for this... the build number for this is coming out of... it's being completely generated here. There. In which case, like Andrew was pointing out, if it's completely specified how it's being generated here, we lose the ability to have a different build number for different branches. Right? So, the CS Proj version should be fine as it comes out of the repo. Yes. I can add what task? Git tools, Git version. Hang on. You don't need to build them in, be in the property group to do that. Just a straight variable in the build pipeline. Yes. I still don't understand why I'm trying to pass in anything in externally from the command line. I want to be able to... That's not how you spell clear. I want to be able to go... Right, in order to make that work, I want to be able to read the git tag and make that the build prefix. So that I can tag things. Can I have Can't you put the build number format the branch name as a variable? Calculated version numbers can be accessed through variables such as the getVersion, NuGetVersion, and getVersion.semver. What? How do I use this then? Get started. Yeah. And also writes getVersion star environment variables that are available to any subsequent. Where is it getting those version numbers? Where is it getting that from? And I'm also locked into, if you're not using git flow, you're done here. Version increments. Semantic versioning is about releases, not builds. Correct. Builds off the develop branch to actually increment on every commit. I don't use a develop branch. I call my branch dev. If you need to consume packages built from develop, no. By default, develop builds are tagged with the alpha pre-release tag. Okay. See, now I'm getting into it. Yeah. I've gotten away from something here, and now I'm writing regular expressions to do these. While it might do exactly what I want, it fails the simple smell test. So if I look at NerdBank GitVersioning, so it creates a directory of build props that has a package reference, and it creates a version.json that has, I guess that's the base, public release ref spec. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to end up having to deal with regular expressions if I'm going to work with any of these solutions. Versioning isn't simple, and venomous. That's exactly my point. Is I want to make this. I want to figure out how we can make this simple. Getting the 1.0 out there shouldn't be. No, I'm not overcomplicating this, Smap. All I want is I am building 1.0 and I want it to appear. I don't even see the version number here. I want it to appear right there. That's what I want. If I .NET new, there we go. And .NET build here. I get a version 1.0 thing right there. But when I .NET build, over here, how do I get that 1.0 to appear there? Oh, you're building version 1.0. Hey, Lost Warlord, welcome. And consequently then, get it back into, when I do the release, get it back into source control as a git tag. Right, I would have to change the build format on each release and pass it along, which then disconnects from... A tag is not sufficient. It should be in the repo checked in. The git tag, the source control tag or label. So, let me step back. This one. So if I do this, nbgv install command, how do I do that? How do I use this? Yeah, how do I install and how do I get started? Because we spent an hour chasing Git version around yesterday and got nowhere. Use the ngbv.net core CLI tool. Okay, fine. How do I get that? .NET tool install. Are you kidding? I copied. There we go. You think the build number string should only be added to what something like minver calculates as the version number? Yes. Totally agree. One way or the other, this is a manual step. Either set a tag on a specific commit or check in a changed version test into a file. Yes. Totally agree with that. Okay. Now what? If scripting or running in a CI build where global impact from installing a tool is undesirable, you can localize the tool. What happens when I run it out there? Preparing a release command automates the task of branching off the main development branch to stabilize for an upcoming release. It is optimized for the following. There's a branch where main development happens. This branch typically builds with some pre-release tag. It may be a public release for early pre-releases. Okay. I'm not preparing a release. I just want to get builds. Customizing the next version. By default, the next version of the main branch is determined from the current version and the version increment setting in version JSON. To explicitly set the next version, run. To override the version increment setting for version JSON, run. Customizing the behavior of prepare release. One way or the other, this is a manual step. Either set a tag. Well, yes, it's a manual step right now. What the heck? No. Somehow I screwed up my lights. Rats. Oh well. All that is advanced. Just run ngbv install. So let's do this. Okay. So for this project, it's set back to having a version number here. with all my NuGet information. So if I do ngbv install, because I spelled it wrong. Okay. What did it do? Directory build props version JSON. Okay. 1.0-beta. Ref heads master. Ref heads. I don't know what that is. Looking for some digits separated by digits. Cloud build number enable true. Okay, I don't know what that is, but alright. And it did not touch my project at all, but I put directory build props, which just includes a package reference. So that's nice that it's added, right, it's added a reference to this without actually modifying my project. Nice. Okay, now what? I want my version number to be 010. So how do I customize the version number? Branch name release this. No. No. Get version set gets the version information for a project. Gets the commits that match a given version. Communicates with the ambient cloud build to set the build number and or other cloud build variables. Okay. So that needs to be executed at some point. You would use minver to calculate the version number and set the minver build metadata to the build number string, and minver sets on build all the version correct for the pack. Okay, so the suggestion now is get rid of this and where is it? It was up here. Directory build props. Where's... oh. I'll add both of those. So if I change this to... now what's that do? Yep, that's the right one. So now if I .NET build, what do I get? Okay, that's expected. That's expected. Build succeeded, and we'll go to there. (010-preview), and I'm not sure where that SHA is coming from. Is that... 121058. Okay. I'm pretty good with that, I guess. keeping an eye on something over here also that's been going on. Okay. So that feels closer to what I'm looking for, right? Because the version number is appearing there, and if it does truly bounce it all the way through, it should show up as the cloud build number. Okay. Now so how is it, does it take into account the tag? Because what I really don't want, I would prefer that to come out of a tag, right? So that source control, and this goes back to a little bit of what we were saying earlier, source control dictates the version of something, or right, do we snap this back after the fact and tag something when it runs properly? Andrew makes a point that tags can be deleted, and that could cause a problem. So the version number here really is hard-coded and travels with the source. Oh, crumbs. Oh, boy. Okay. Don't like getting bad news like that. Public release ref spec can lead the package version to automatically drop the git version suffix from the package pre-release version. Oh, man. When you build from master or whatever your favorite shipping branch is, to automatically drop the git version suffix when I build from master. Okay. But if I want to drop, how do I get it to drop preview? The git commit suffix. Okay. How do I get it? Let's start here. Yeah. To use and I can't push that into master because I don't have access to push into it. And I'll go back over to, where is it? We should see this pick up in just a second. Right? I just pushed into it. Because I'm going to merge that over in just a second. There it is. There, it's running. (0.10-pre). It's still got the name that I gave it for the build number. So, what are you doing? It's going to change the version number there during the build. Holy crow. Build took 5 seconds? Okay. Hey, whatever. I guess because it wasn't restoring anymore. So, file upload succeeded. Yeah, what's the file it uploaded? And okay, that's the version number. All right, so that matches. Okay. You can see in it that the build version number was changed. I can see it up. Come on now. Really? Update build number right there. Okay. This is what happens to me when you program. You need to add X feature and you get stuck on something else for hours. And that's why I decided to dedicate today to talking about version numbers. Yes. So... and there's a comment here from Dustin Morris Gorski on Twitter. Yeah, I don't want to have to pass things around. This feels like the best of the solutions that we've seen, because the other things it looks like we need to pass around arguments and we need to modify our build project file. What I want to make sure, though, is if that's the updated build number, did that get attached to my NuGet package as well that it created, right? Uploaded one... no, I don't want to copy that. I want to see the artifact. Thank you. Oh, good, good. Well, wait, GABD. Was that? No. Where did it get the G? ABD 62, Alpha Charlie 6E, Frank. Where did it get the G? Did I leave something in over here? No. Where'd the G come from? Mr. Magoo!
Blazor Mr. Magoo just gifted 5 subs.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. We're going to make 5 donations to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And Gamepad Warrior is that Paul USJE, Party Ultra, GL Conti, ZS90. Congratulations, you just got subscriptions from our friend Blazor Mr. Magoo there. Thank you so much. Really appreciate those. Yes, Merry Christmas indeed. Thank you so much. And 25 other folks got Christmas emotes in chat, thanks to our friends at Coca-Cola and the Haha Holidays. There's an added G for semver compliance and to avoid failures in tools that reject certain Git commits because they're all integers that start with 0. Oh. Okay. Very cool. All right, so I guess I'm okay with that then. And right, I'm kind of locked into. I can't use the tag, the Git tag, to make that happen. Right when I'm ready to label something. What did you find from Dropbox there? Hugo. Oh, nice. That's pretty cool to see. Texas license plate, I love St. Jude. Very cool. And if I built from master, the git commit drops out of the package version. So, does it still have the dash preview? Right, how do I get the dash preview to drop off? You thought it simply did semver. No, there's tons here that you can configure. Who won last night, RPF? How's it going there? Because that's what I'm set. To remove it, I need to change version JSON. So in order for me to do a master release, when I merge into an actual release where I'm going to publish the package, I need to drop the dash preview because I don't want to push dash preview over to NuGet. Which means I would have commits back and forth into my master branch where I add the preview, remove the preview. Yeah. Is it only for .NET projects? Asks Raziel Descartes. I don't think so. Yes, NuGet.org does take pre-release packages also. It's a question of how much do I want to, right, when I do the final release version, right, I need to do that in a feature branch, push, release. It's a several step process. Exactly. Have the preview in the develop branch and only land releases in master. Yes. Thank you for the follow, Brenda's baby. Welcome, Brenda's baby. I know we talk and reach to all kinds of folks here, but never a child that young. Welcome, Brenda's baby. Prepare release does those steps for you to create a release branch and remove the pre-release suffix. So what's involved with that? Was it prepare release? Is that a thing? Like that? Nope. Yeah. Go back. Okay. Go back up to the root. Try that again. Where'd that come from? V020 alpha development. And it keeps prepares a release by creating a release branch for the current version and adjusting the version on the current branch. Defines the format of release branch names. Okay, that's fine. Version increment, first unstable tag. That's what I want. And that's inside of version JSON in a release block. So what's that look like? No. So that, okay. Branch name. Defines the format of release branch names. Nice. I like the IntelliSense here. Specifies which part of the version node the current branch is incremented when preparing. Default minor. Yeah. Okay. Customizing the next version, prepare release next version, and we can force it. Cool. Prepare release RC. You can optionally include a pre-release tag on the release branch. Okay. Sure, I'll leave that as... I just wanted to... Whatever, hang on. We'll reset this. I want to go back... what? Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for a bit of the explanation here. Thank you so much. I want to get rid of these three. How do we prune those off? That merge commit is to avoid a merge conflict later since I changed version JSON. Eternal Dev Coder, that's a really good question and not where we're at yet. Are we using Docker for any of this? I have another project that does use Docker, and we're going to have to cross that. Git branch df v010. Okay, so that deleted that branch, but I want to roll back. Git reset hard. Oops. Head tilde 3, so we go back 3 versions. Yeah. So I want to have the same version that's out there in GitHub. Yeah. So now I'm lined up. Okay. So let me merge. Let me do the prepare release on this. Right, well, hang on. I want to do that release block here. Yeah, reload. First unstable tag is preview. And let me put some carriage returns in here. Okay. Added preview unstable release label. Okay. I don't want to push that yet, but I want to do now the prepare release. Because I want to start working on 02 is the next one. Okay. I don't want to push everything. Because, right, I only want to merge in up to there. So I guess I pull the tag. I merged the tag in. Yeah, tilde 2 would have been the correct one to push. Okay, so that went up. Okay, so NerdBank GitVersioning feels like the easiest of these. But I'm still running into this concept where, as an add-on to the current ecosystem, it's doing it. I feel like it is doing the right things. Why isn't it building yet? Build. Go. You prefer Commander instead of Posh? To each their own. Sure. Does it matter if we do present or past tense for get message? That's a really good question. I prefer past tense because it's something you've already completed. Right, so feature versioning I just pushed into, and it's not building. Right, why isn't it building that? Oh, because it's up above. And that's fine, I don't need to have it build. But now... Right, I need to push the 010 branch. I don't... Where'd the tag go? Okay, so that's there. And if I want to merge that into master, which then should create the new NuGet package and push it over to NuGet. Now, if I squash and merge, I'm going to have diverging... I guess it's all right. So let me go back over to master. Yes. Oh, look at this. Ooh. No, I want that one. And I want the incoming change. Oh, and I can't push. Let me reset to that one. That's not right. There we go. And now I can tag this one and push. There it goes. So I'm still dealing with a little bit of... Alright, so there's the tag. Now I can get rid of the other branch. Because I pushed it and did I merge it? Yeah, there it is. V010. And it did build successfully. And the one artifact. Yep, okay, that's correct. Now, that's not going to publish properly. What's the M? Yeah, because it's got the same version number that's out there. That's okay. Alright. I think we're in a much better place now. I think. So the versioning branch here, I think I also want to delete because we've got it all cleaned up. Now I thought oh. And let's also get rid of this one. And they're all gone. How do I push and get it to prune up on GitHub? Right? I want to get rid of those other branches. Right? It should have merged and deleted. And yeah. All right. So I think I'm up to speed now. I think I'm in a much better place. Does my build target tags? I don't think so. That's a good question. So I have one build that's going to analyze, is going to take care of all those pull requests that are in there. Triggers. Branch type, it's going to go after all of them. Batch changes. Pull request validation enabled. Path filters. It doesn't target tags specifically. Yeah, that's right, Hugo. We added tests earlier. That's right. Look. Right, if I go back to... Where the heck am I? Right, look at that. Test passes. Look at that, we've got tests. And it's actually testing the Blazor components and making sure that they have the correct content in there. So, okay, what did we solve? Because we're using the version, right? We're now passing in and it's setting the version number inside of here. Let me download. Let me go up to here. This. Right, let me download the artifact for this. No, not retain. Right, save that. And it's right now just a little NuGet package. Rename. No. Let's move you then. Sure. Open that up. It's in lib, net standard. Take a look at the properties of this. Let me bring it out so we can see it. So the file version is 0101, right? Which doesn't quite match this, but the base 010 does match. It's the first build of that major minor patch version. Okay. And the product version includes the first handful of characters from the commit. Alpha 35 Charlie Charlie 80. Alpha 35 Charlie Charlie 80. So that matches. So I've got now a branch that was... Well, you can't see the tag here. Let me go back to the... I could have chosen a tag over on that other one. Right, if I look at this, last commit A35 Charlie Charlie 80. Right? A35 Charlie Charlie 80. So that matches through to the tag here. The tag has the same version number as this, which has the same version number in the file. There. And the product version is the same. So for this, we got that. We got that. This is actually the same as the thing above it. I don't know what this is. This looks like it matches. This looks like it matches. This I'm now forcing to match, and now that matches, and the NerdBank Git version is giving me that also. I just don't know what this thing is when we saw that. So that's really good. The question that I would have at this point... Wow, that dog's upset. Right, there was a thing about tagging here. Create a git tag to mark a version. So it feels like when after I prepared release, it feels like I should nbgv tag nbgv prepare release so that we get it to fire, have both of those options happen at the same time and push all of those up so we can do the merge in. If you push 2 commits up to 010 branch, would that be 0103? That feels right. That definitely feels right. Informational version and product version are equivalent and a hangover from earlier Windows. Ah, thank you, Smap. Let me put that message up. And thank you for the reply there, Andrew. Equivalent and a hangover from earlier Windows. Okay. And Andrew, about if you make 2 more commits into that same branch, you'd get to 0103. Cool. Okay, that makes sense to me. But I'm moving on. I'm not really supporting the 010, and I want to move into the next version of this, where I'll start adding some more components and start building more of these features. It's a hangover because they were drunk when they did this. But it's better. It's stronger. It's more important now. Cool. Now, that it's okay. So let's recap here. We had identified that we've got a ton of different version numbers floating around here. And we figured out how to quickly, and thank you to Andrew for the help there. And let me do something here real quick. Let me, hang on, 1 second. Come on. There it goes. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate that.
Gifted Andrew Lannet a subscription. Sharp Fritz gifted a tier 1 sub to
Yeah,
Andrew
there we go.
Lannet.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. It's the least I could do. Thank you so much for your help today. So we learned how to use NerdBank GitVersion, and my lord, for a .NET project, no impact directly on the project contents, which didn't have any version stuff in it to start off with. We've centralized and placed all of our version content, our version information, in another file over here so that it tracks appropriately with this. Here in my master branch, I'm looking at a 0.01, 010. I'm going to start working on my next version of this. Yeah, there's the 2 files that I just copied into that folder that I don't really need. Let me get rid of those. Did I put it here? I can get rid of those. And we've now unified the version numbers for all of these things. And when I start working on my next version, my next feature here, right, so I'll call it something like feature repeater, right, because we're going to build the repeater component next. I'll make this 020 preview and get working from there. You have tag helpers and projects that report that stuff. Nice. So, right, that's something that I need to go back and do, where I want to mine that version number and put it into my ASP.NET project. And that's not hard to do a little bit of reflection, grab that value and punch it into the output there on screen. I could have redone I didn't want to do a preview release, prepare release. Yes, that's the project and documentation that we're using. NerdBank GitVersioning. I should have, right, if I had done a prepare release, it would have broken off another branch, but I've already done the branch. So I didn't really need that. I don't want to build. Right, I just wanted to set the next version. Updates the version stamp applied to a project. I could have just done NGBV set version, right? So let me set that back. The correct way for me to do this would have been NGBV set version 020. Or spell it right again. NBGV set version 020. Right? And it updates that. Ah, we lost the schema version. It didn't set preview on that. No. Don't save. Reopen. Paste. Cool. That works. Yeah, you just modify the file by hand. Yeah. And prepare releases when you're done with the feature development. Nice. Nice. I feel pretty good about that. Thank you so much. Why do I have... starting work on the repeater control component. And that's where we'll pick up next time. I didn't spell that right again. There we go. Give me the statement. There it goes. Cool. Very cool. And we've got all of our code cleaned up, ready to go for next time when we start building and adding that next component. Thank you so much, everybody, for chiming in here. There's definitely something to be said for managing the version numbers properly. I like seeing that we could just add a, not even add a package to the project, run a command line tool, and get it to appropriately make things available here for us to be able to use and track the version numbers for all of these things properly. I still disagree that we don't want, we don't really want and need all of these. It'd be great if we could get down to just one. Cloudy NJ, thank you so much for that cheer. We'll make another donation to St. Jude on behalf of you. Thank you so much. Let me get ready to set up a raid here. See who we can find out there on the Twitch. We can join in and say hello to. Oh, you know we haven't raided in a while and we need to go visit. Yeah, we've got to say hello to this guy. He's building a Christmas selfies maker. Oh my gosh, he is always so great with being on top of and getting ready to do cool things for the holidays and different occasions. We're gonna raid InstaFluff. Friends, if you don't know InstaFluff, he is so kind, so polite, so nice to everybody that joins him in stream. I hope you stick around to see what's going on over there. And of course, for participating in the raid, you get some more channel points that you can use here. If you're a subscriber, grab that first line that the bot wrote into the chat room. Copy that onto your clipboard. Get ready to shout it out when we get to InstaFluff's chat room. If you're not, that's okay. Grab the second line right here. Copy it onto the clipboard. Get ready to paste it over there as we get ready to go see InstaFluff. Thank you so much for sticking around today. It was a good exercise talking about all the different places that version numbers are important and how they land and are presented in our projects. I hope I see you tomorrow as we write some more code and we get started with our repeater component here in this project. Take care.